Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, a light-hearted podcast on a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through true crime stories to discuss an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark Decana, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
So the date we're looking at this episode is the 24th of August, and in 1867 the town of Alton in Hampshire was rocked by the murder of an 8-year-old girl by the name of Sweet Fanny Adams.
Oh.
Wasn't she just called Fanny Adams?
She was nicknamed Sweet Fanny Adams. Yes, she was called Fanny Adams.
And why was she nicknamed Sweet Fanny Adams?
Because she was a sweet little 8-year-old girl.
Oh, okay. Right. I mean, the obvious thing that has progressed into modern parlance is her name and everything. But we don't know I don't know anything about what you're about to say at all.
Of course.
As usual.
We would use Sweet Fanny Adams nowadays to say nothing.
Yeah.
To describe something that it's valueless.
What's going on today,
Valueless,
Ruth?
yes.
Sweet Fanny Adams.
Exactly, yeah. So how has that become I'm doing nothing? No, is that the only...
It'd be interesting. It might come out in the story.
Oh, right, yeah. As usual, I hadn't thought about it. Well, also Sweet FA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that obviously has another meaning, but it totally comes from that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
But perhaps the modern meaning of it comes from the replacement of Fanny Adams with another two words.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
And that's where we get the nothing.
Well, I will explain what happened, and I will give you the full etymology.
Excellent.
At the end of the episode.
Nothing I like more than a good dry etymological explanation.
Yes, that will be part of our pop culture segment.
Why are you teasing me like this?
So, yes, I mean, there should probably be a graphic nature warning because the death, obviously it's a death of a child. Don't normally cover that too much, but it's quite brutal. And there was a national outcry across the whole of the United Kingdom. But I will attempt to lighten the mood, let's say. So keep it light, keep it light. Kill a child.
So, dear listener, take this as a small yellow triangle in the corner of your audio broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? What does that mean?
Well, a little warning triangle in the corner.
Is it yellow?
That's what they used to have.
Just to caution you that there was sensitive...
Those of a sensitive disposition, go away.
I've been so advised.
So let me tell you the tale then. So Fanny Adams, 8-year-old girl, one day, 24th of August in 1867, she and her little sister Lizzie and her best friend Minnie Warner, they went to play in a meadow near their house, and on their way to the meadow they met a man called Frederick Baker, who was a solicitor's clerk of the town. Small village, these kind of places. 29 years old, and he met the girls on their way to the meadow.
Hello, little girl.
He gave them halfpenny bits, halfpences, to buy sweets.
Yep.
See, there was no public information films back then, was there?
No.
No stranger danger.
And how old were they anyway?
She was 8, the others were
Younger.
similar.
And they were off on a country walk.
They were walking down a country lane to play in a field.
Simpler times.
I mean, there were no cars, but anyway.
Baker, obviously, because it was a small town, village type, he would be familiar churches, meetings, and he was as a local solicitor's clerk, a part of the administration.
Of course,
kind of thing. Now, he saw the girls playing, watched them play, picked some blackberries, gave them blackberries, he'd given them their halfpenny pieces.
Yep.
Then the girls decided that they'd had enough and they wanted to go home. Two of the girls, Lizzie and Minnie, headed home. Baker approached Fanny and asked for her to come with him to Sheldon, nearby village.
Yep.
Do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals?
We might.
Fanny said no, and he, at that point, abducted her and disappeared with her into a hop garden.
Right.
So the two other little girls ran back to their homes on Tannhouse Lane. She told Martha Warner, Minnie Warner's mother.
So they saw it.
They saw this happen, reported what had happened. She ignored the story, so the girls carried on
Mum.
playing. Yep.
Yep.
That's bad parenting. and I should know.
Then, when Sister Lizzie made her way for dinner, she was stopped by her neighbour asking where her sister was. And then, obviously, said what had happened, that Baker had abducted her. So,
Well, so the two friends saw Baker abduct her.
they were in the plane together, yeah.
Right. Gosh, I thought they'd just wandered off home, and then after that he must have abducted her. But
No. They decided they were going to leave. He abducted her. The other two headed home
Runs.
in full view.
The audacity! The unmitigated gall!
So then, the neighbour, Mrs. Gardner, and Fanny's mother, Harriet, went off to look for the missing girl. They met Baker in the street and asked him what he'd done with the child. He said, I ain't done nothing.
Yep.
So the two women just went home. They said, oh, she's probably just playing in the field. She'll be home later.
it reminds me of growing up as a kid myself. 'Cause, I mean, these days,
you
if
abducted?
children go out to play with each other,
Yeah.
they'll have a tracking app installed on their mobile phones, you know. Whereas we'd just go, oh, Mum, I'm going to go and play in the disused quarry up the road, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd just be off for the day.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I used to go out all day,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
10 or 11-ish.
go out, home for tea. That was the rule.
Yeah.
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 I'd be 10 or 11, I'd be with someone else, and we'd go down by the river or something, literally spend
Yeah.
all day
Yeah.
out. I'm assuming we didn't, because obviously didn't have any money, so we didn't eat or anything like that. But
Yeah.
but regardless, and then you just kind of work your way back.
Yeah. If you were alive, you'd come home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He's been gone the last couple of days.
I remember my dad used to play in shell holes in the high street. You know, go out, he'd play where the bombs had landed the night before. He'd be out playing, picking up shells and
Picking up shells.
yeah.
I found a bomb. When I was growing up, there was a school next to my road, a Victorian school that had burned down and hadn't been demolished.
Yeah.
So this is the 70s, so I don't know when it burned down, but it was disused. Anyway, we would just go in there.
Just go in it.
Yeah, I mean, it could have literally collapsed at any time. It was just burnt.
And it wasn't cordoned off or anything.
It was fenced off, but you
Oh, it
know,
was?
kids
Oh, okay.
go through fences, don't they?
Yeah, fine.
And we just go in there and rummage in the old desks, and there was nothing there.
Nothing. Not a smell?
And, you know, just
Sit down for lessons.
just bang the roof timbers to see if they would fall down. You know, and we just
While you were in it.
Yeah, just let's play, it'd be fine. Or yeah, like you said, let's hang out down by the river and what have you. And no one batted an eyelid, nothing.
No.
In fact, one of my favourite pastimes as a 5-year-old was to sit on the curb outside my house whittling sticks. Children were playing with knives. There's 5-year-old children sitting in the street playing with knives.
Sharpening sticks.
Sharpening stick. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's no problem. Yeah, get on with it.
You know, you draw that line of risk and trust backwards in time. It's no wonder that they weren't that bothered that their child had been abducted in plain sight.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
Surprised they didn't not worry about it for another week.
Further and further.
The further
back.
you go
You're
back.
probably right. Yeah, another. Where is she? It's
She's only been gone
4
since
days.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like cats. If you don't turn up in a few days,
Yeah.
it'll be perfect.
We'll get
And
another
it was a small town.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone knew everyone. There hadn't been serious crime since forever.
Little surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous. Don't be alarmed.
Right.
Why would you?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Sadly, by the time anyone realised that Fanny hadn't still returned home, they decided to gather a group of neighbours and go look for him. And a man named Thomas Gates, who happened to be a veteran of the Crimea and had taken part in the charge of the Light Brigade,
Wow.
a respected veteran, he made a horrifying discovery.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you what was discovered.
Sure.
And you can decide whether that's the sort of thing you want to listen to. So skip ahead here if needs be.
We've been given the plainest warning.
So the first thing he discovered was Fanny's head, which was stuck on the top of a hop pole.
Off top of what?
A hop pole. It was in the hop garden.
Hop garden.
Stuck on the top of the hop poles.
Right.
It had many cuts on it. One of the ears was missing. Continuing the search, they found the arms and legs separated from the trunk. Lots of knife cuts, bits missing, the contents of the chest removed. The whole, it was like a Ripper victim.
My God.
It
She'd
sounds
been
pretty
completely
frenzied,
destroyed.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Pre-rip.
Yeah. Organs removed, organs cut up,
Really?
and pieces missing, yeah.
Blimey.
Both her eyes were found in the river.
Gosh. So you would have found this head on a pole with no eyes.
No eyes, no ear, and cuts, and there was a horrific, frenzied attack.
Sure.
Parts of her remained missing, including her vagina. So lots of her were missing. Bits of her muscle, bits of the body were missing. They never found them.
Right.
But basically, the point is, the child had been ripped to pieces.
Sure, yeah.
So you did skip a few bits of that as well.
I did skip a few bits.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this nonsense?
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
I mean, it seemed, when I was reading it, that he had attempted to dismember and couldn't.
Got frustrated.
I mean, it's
by it,
really hard. I mean,
it's not easy to chop off a body, I believe.
Tempted, but he did, though, didn't he? Ultimately did.
But it's looked like they attempted to cut her up, but ultimately just got annoyed and just ripped and slashed.
Right.
And, wasn't very good at it. Put it that way.
because you need really sharp and strong tools to do it.
Sure, yeah.
Some of the body was found the next day because it had been scattered.
Yeah.
Including a foot which was still in the shoe. And the halfpenny bits that Baker had given her were still clutched in a dismembered hand.
Oh my God. What does that suggest? Just
that it happened not long after he picked her up and walked away with her.
And then chopped off, and then I don't know how long rigor mortis takes, but basically that's why it then stayed in the hand, obviously. But
yeah, most likely. Next thing was there was an autopsy. There's a pub called the Old Leather Bottle, or Ye Olde Leathern Bottle.
Ye. Damned French scribes who didn't understand English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about ye for a second.
All right, then.
Ye's not a word.
No.
It's the.
Yeah.
All right? The.
There is no word ye.
There's no word ye. Never was.
No.
Never will be.
To me, it's just a made-up word.
Yeah.
It's a thorn, not a Y.
It's a thorn, which is a TH that's been shortened.
Right, yeah. You mean someone somewhere mistook...
French scribes had never seen a thorn before, so when they wrote it, it looked a bit like a Y in some of the manuscripts.
It's basically, it looks like a Y, but in between the two upper points, there's another point, and it's basically... So it looks like a pitchfork kind of thing. That's a thorn, and it indicates TH. It's old.
So why
English.
why do you call it thorn?
Well, that's the name of the letter.
That's the name of the letter.
Like a W is a W, a thorn is a...
like an interrobang, which is a combined exclamation mark and question mark.
I thought you were describing the thorn as the th that is the replaces.
It is.
It is. Yeah,
right,
yeah. It's a combined th, meaning a th sound. So it's. But when they went to printing, they said we don't have a thorn, but we have a Y, and it looks the same, so we'll use a Y.
It's
These
two letters.
And there's a lowercase and an uppercase. The one that looks like the Y is the lowercase. The uppercase version has got a sort of vertical stem, and then there's like a bulge in the middle halfway down. Yeah,
well, the cursive kind of scribes of the day would write certain letters differently, basically.
Yeah.
Things like an R.
Or like the S that looks like an F.
Yes, exactly.
Fs.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry, that's the German S. That's the German S.
But in older English, it would look like leaf as opposed to these. It would be it looks like a
right. It's true. Yeah, it's it extends above the stave and below the stave, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. But it looks like an F, but it's basically a big, elongated S. But
and it's massive.
Like an F.
Pointlessly gigantic.
For no reason at all.
We used to do.
It's like a different font altogether.
Yeah. We used to do cursive. I mean, you must have got taught cursive writing. I don't know whether they do get taught that these days. The full-on. You can do it in one line.
Yeah, children get taught that.
These days, I think they just change the font. Nobody actually writes anything down.
Well, that's
anymore.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Surely they get taught to write.
You kids today are nothing but punks. Sissified.
But things like an R, a cursive R is easy enough, but a cursive R in that just goes on forever. And it's like, where do you stop once you've done the arc? And then they carry on and bring it back round. Anyway, and a T, a lower T, is not like a backwards J with a line in it. It's like a full-on roller coaster loop The roller coaster loop.
Just like a roller coaster. A T is a roller coaster.
The classic roller coaster loop.
Yeah, you know the thing.
So ye oldie.
So, anyway. So ye, not a word. The old leather bottle.
Right, fine.
So the old leather bottle was a pub, and because at the time they didn't have like a mortuary, or many places didn't have mortuary, so they would just use a local public building or a public house.
Right.
Basement?
No, just in the saloon. Yeah, on the bar. Get it done. Yeah.
No, they didn't.
On the billiard table.
On the billiard table, yeah. On the shove halfpenny.
Really?
Yeah.
No, really. What kind of ad is that for a pub?
Wherever there's a flat, or on the floor, wherever flat surface they could.
Gosh.
I would have chosen
away.
outside.
Or the butchers. He's
No,
like,
butcher.
it'd be a
who's got cold
hilarious mix-up.
storage?
I'm not sure they had the hygiene.
That's true. It's a step too far from horse meat, isn't it?
Slightly. Yeah.
Long pig.
So, a police superintendent named William Cheney was taken to Flood Meadow. He was met by lots of people to see the scene of the crime.
Yep.
They took him to the leather bottle, where the proprietor handed him a wrapped bundle which had the label on it saying "Portions of a Child."
Got something for you.
Right, lordy.
They went on a search for the missing body parts, and obviously they went to find Mr. Baker.
Yes, more importantly.
Yeah. Now, they found Baker at work.
You can't hide in a little town like this.
He was still at work at 9 p.m, which was up. He would have been normally finishing at 8. He was still at work.
He just carried on working.
At the solicitors.
At the solicitors, yeah.
So he must have known that the other little girls saw him
Yes.
remove the child, Fanny Adams.
Yes.
And then he did what he did, one assumes, and then what would he normally do? Just go back to work.
Go back to work. Keeping unusual hours.
Knowing that
Yeah.
even though they were little girls, someone had seen you.
Yeah.
Which seems very, very strange to me, but...
Well, the thing is, why is he out in the afternoon picking blackberries and walking the
True,
fields?
yeah, if he's got that much work to do.
He's got so much work to do, it keeps him till 9 in
Yes,
in the
okay,
evening,
yeah.
which is weird.
So if the girls hadn't have seen him, I fail to see how they would have tracked him down unless he made... Well, presumably we're going to come to it, but he made a stupid mistake or whatever in order to prove that he did. Because I suppose technically, at that moment, all right, fine, little girls saw him take away, but that they would have still needed, presumably, would have still needed actual proof that he'd done it.
They would.
Right.
So he claimed that he was innocent. He was told that he was the only suspect.
Sure, yeah,
He said, nothing to do with me.
We know everything. We can prove nothing.
But, obviously, because of the growing mob,
right,
he pretty much had to be arrested for his own protection as much as anything else, plus being the only suspect.
Were they baying?
They were a baying mob.
Yeah.
Yes. As only a mob can.
Bay.
Hounds and mobs.
What is
And Michael.
How do you bay?
And Michael Bay. Well, it's barking, isn't it?
Is it? It's just
baying hounds.
And
baying mobs. Howling. Barking
baying
and howling.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an insanely brutal murder.
It is.
It does beg, like, it makes you think he must have done something before.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of is that, hang on, what on earth is he doing or has he done? That just doesn't. You don't just do that.
No,
it must be a thing.
Unless this has really been boiling up in him for a long time, and then all of a sudden, all out at once. But I'd find it hard to believe that he'd, never kicked a puppy or
worked his way up.
Yeah,
or done it several times before. But regardless of that, he was calm enough or stupid enough
to just go to work
for work.
Yeah. Well, the whole time he was interrogated, he was calm and cool. And,
right.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he claimed he was innocent.
I don't reckon I got no reason to kill nobody.
He was searched and found to have 2 small knives on him, but they weren't bloodstained.
Yep.
He did, however, have spots of blood on his shirt and trousers. But the main piece of evidence was that in his desk at the solicitor's office, they found a diary in among the papers, and on the date of the entry for 24th of August, it said, "Killed a young girl. It was fine and hot."
Good grief!
Which basically was the
in his diary.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Look at that. Wow.
Bloody Nora.
I mean, assuming that it was his diary. And
that's the briefest of confessions I've ever.
Yeah, just an diary entry.
Yes. Now, this diary was found some while after he had been arrested. So whether it had been there the whole time by him, or whether it had been placed there by persons unknown, who can say?
Yeah.
Since he'd already been arrested, it would be a good way of...
Yes, of course it would, yeah.
Diverting attention.
Of course.
Who can say?
And handwriting back, I mean, anyone who could write well back then, most people wrote exactly the same way. Because you would have been taught cursive handwriting, particularly style.
Yeah.
And everyone wrote in that same cursive hand.
Exactly. And again, we're talking about small town village life where everyone would have been taught by the same person as much as...
So you could potentially fake someone's handwriting relatively easily.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Mark Decano and I host the Comedy in a Nutshell podcast, in which I talk with those in and around the comedy circuit, and most especially the comedians, about what comedy means to them.
Simon Amstel plus Lena Dunham plus Mr. Blobby. I thought that would be a good combo.
Every gig you get is somebody else not getting a gig.
I've had people pull out a notepad and I've been like, oh no, thank you.
You are a jester and you're here to bring light relief to people's lives.
Somebody at the end was like, oh my God, she's dirty. And I was like, thank you very much.
My boyfriend says he feels like he has to tread very carefully because he was like, I know that everything has the potential to become material.
I can now give to people and they definitely in that moment are having a good time.
So if you want to know more about what comedy means to the people at its heart, then hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Comedy in a Nutshell, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Fringe, baby.
Also, the blood spots on clothing would have been because they presumably suit kind of smartish clothing that he would have presumably had to wear at
it would have to be fairly smart for a solicitor.
I would still, regardless, argue that I bet those are the only clothes he had for the
potentially that those are his smart clothes.
Exactly. Yeah. So therefore, I don't know how much later it was. Probably not much later, but you don't get rid of them or wash them or whatever because you need them instantly because you haven't got anything else to wear.
Yeah. But I don't know that I would gamble about in a field in them if they're my best clothes.
No,
gamble.
I suppose not.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gambled.
Never gambled
in a field.
Or gambled.
Gambled.
You gambled or gambled?
I've gambled.
Yeah,
I haven't gambled. I bet you've gambled.
I've gambled.
Yeah, of course you have.
I've not only gambled, I've frolicked.
I was going to say, you must have frolicked.
Of course you have.
When does frolicking end and gambolling begin?
Frolicking is a little level above gambling.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah,
so when
it's a madder version.
Yeah.
When you're overwhelmed by excitement, you're gambolling. You begin your frolicking.
Yeah. As gamble is to canter, gallop is to frolic.
Yeah. Good analogy. Yeah. Well, how do you go from doing nothing to gambol? Meaning, that's part A to that question. The second part is why would you not go to jogging or, as you say,
no. You would have to go through ambling and meandering before that.
Yeah, but they're lesser, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
Ambling.
Meandering. Yeah. Meandering. I like meandering. Yeah. I like meandering.
So start meandering!
I meant the word. But I like using...
You like the word meandering?
Yeah.
We don't meander down desire lines.
No, I don't meander down the fast lane of the motor.
No, because meandering has to be aimless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't meander with purpose.
Yeah.
Or just kind of wistful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when was the last time you gamboled?
Last time I gambled.
Could you gambol in your garden?
It's not quite big enough. I
think you need space.
It'd be a very brief gamble.
You need space to gamble.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know, do you? No idea.
We've never explored any word this much.
Go on then. When was the last time you gambled? Tell me the exact date.
Well, the last time I gambled,
it was a summer's day.
Would be actually it's probably in the Museumplein in Amsterdam. There's a nice big field out the front of the Rijksmuseum.
What did you do?
Skipped.
Skipped.
Yeah.
So hang on.
I mean, arguably, it's bordering gamble.
Well, I was going to say, what is it? Skipping or gambling?
It's barely a light frolic.
Ooh. Is it an overexcited skip?
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more than a skip.
Yeah,
it's more than a skip.
I think if you because skipping tends to be with a single leading foot.
Yep.
I think if you alternate the leading foot, then you're venturing into the realms of a frolic.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, but that means you've glossed over gambling.
You've gone straight to frolic.
I nearly said skipped over.
You've gone straight to frolic. What's this podcast about?
Gamble across your garden to show us what you mean.
We've ambled some distance from topic.
From topic, yeah. It's fine. So Baker had been arrested and interrogated. On the 19th of October, he was sent to Winchester Prison on remand, held until trial. Mm-hmm. At which point, somewhere around there, another young boy claimed that at 2 o'clock on the day in question, he saw Baker covered in blood, washing himself in the river.
Oh, wow.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
This boy claimed that he told his mother and she hadn't bothered to tell anybody as well.
Yeah.
The parents seem to be the ones who don't give a damn about this.
Well,
I blame the parents.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is that in that time, I'm not surprised that they just weren't believed or just dismissed as, go away and play in the field again. Yeah. Because it's only, the stories we was saying at the start of this ep about as if they were 1,000 years ago of us playing in the street or whatever it was 30, 40 years ago. Mm. And then ever since then, it's, everything's been pegged back and you don't go out and don't play in the street and no, you must come back and phone me. So we experienced it and we lived in London.
Yeah.
So imagine what it was like in the country when we were that age. So then minus another 100 years of it, I'm totally not surprised that the parents went, give it over.
Little Johnny's been murdered. Well, I'll murder you if you're not home for your tea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to listen to your children, even if they have nothing to say.
I mean, it's true, isn't it? That's exactly how it would have been. Oh, shut up. Go and, that kind of stop telling tales kind of thing.
Nobody's murdered round here.
Not around these parts. Well, now you can understand that 1867 forensics is not at the cutting edge of science.
It isn't, is it?
Yeah. The one thing they were able to find out or establish was that the spots of blood found on Baker's clothing were human.
Oh, well.
But that's...
Well, now they did that.
Yeah,
that's all they were... I'm surprised they were able to do that, but that's all they were able to do. There was a lot of arguing about weapons. Because the two small knives that he had, it was reckoned they couldn't possibly have been used for the murder. There was argument about, obviously, the way she'd been dismembered, about they must have had another weapon.
Yep.
So there was talk about someone would have used a stone to do some of the damage, but there were cuts, so there must have been another weapon. There's no sign of any other weapon found.
And you couldn't possibly do it with what I'm imagining is a teeny
knives,
pocket knife.
Yeah. So they think that the cause of death was a blow to the head.
Okay.
And then everything else was done sort of post.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
But they didn't find anything that could possibly have caused any of those wounds. No murder weapon. They searched for 2 weeks and didn't find it.
I mean, it could have been anything. A rock in the river. Put the rock back in the river.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Baker, meanwhile, was cool, calm and collected, sitting in prison.
Oh, yeah.
He said he hoped that the whoever was guilty would be found, and he would be then exonerated. So he's protesting his innocence.
Sure. I mean, on the basis that you were seen walking away with her.
Yeah.
Where did she go after that to then get killed, mate?
I didn't do it. I swear to you. I've been set up.
So Baker went to trial pretty much on the evidence that we've said, which is that the knives weren't the murder weapon. He had blood on him,
girls.
but that's it. The witnesses were children.
And nothing of this other boy or his mother.
Yeah, well, they, again, it's all very much, I saw him and that was it. That's the whole evidence that they had to provide.
And we've not heard enough evidence yet to convict anybody.
Yeah.
No, we haven't heard or found or seen anything, really.
Apart from the diary entry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is basically a sort of a confession, if you want to see it that way.
Yeah.
But, anyone could have put that there. But nonetheless, it went to trial. The defence basically said all of their evidence is rubbish. The knives he had on him aren't the murder weapon, we know that. But they also argued insanity. So they're saying it couldn't possibly have been him, but also he's insane.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Well, he had a history of insanity in the family, violence, and her cousin had been in an asylum, and so on and so forth, that sort of. But again, in 1867, going into an asylum wasn't hard.
No.
You didn't have to necessarily be insane.
No, you could simply be a difficult wife.
Well, exactly.
Inverted commas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the judge in charge of the case, Judge Miller, he asked the jury to consider the verdict to be not responsible by reason of insanity. But after they deliberated for 15 minutes, they came back and declared it guilty.
It was quick back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, again, not a lot of evidence to think about, really.
Well, I suppose so.
Children said he did it. There's a diary entry said he did it.
If there's not
He
much
did have
evidence,
some blood on him.
Surely the discussion would be slightly longer.
Yeah.
But obviously not.
I mean, instinctively you feel like he did do it.
Yeah.
But I can't see how you could actually find him guilty.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The course of justice.
It's all very implied. It's all very implied, but it's not evident.
He probably did it, but in the eyes of proving it, there's no proof at all, is there?
The article about it says he paid them to run up and down the path for him while he got blackberries.
Well, yeah, I mean, he gave them money.
The coincidence.
He didn't pay them to run up and down. He gave them money and they played.
But
if he was insane and he said, "Come with me," and she said no, and he just went,
yeah.
He went,
but he didn't go there. He was just in the countryside and then three girls.
Why was he in the countryside? Why wasn't he at work?
In his work clothes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But meaning, he wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Three young girls are walking. He was in the countryside where fucking no one would have been, would they? In that era.
Yeah.
Apart from the odd, I don't know,
odd person. The odd person.
Because when I was living in the countryside in Scotland, my nearest neighbour was 3 kilometres away. It was the nearest house. I never spoke to them, but
killed them.
Never killed them. Didn't speak to them, just killed.
Because I killed them. So, Mark, you would have gone for a walk.
At any point that I was not in the house, I am in the countryside.
Of course, yeah.
Frolicking.
Fine.
Gambling.
Yeah. But
So you were always out in the countryside?
Exactly. So therefore you would have been wandering along and by pure coincidence, I don't know, someone would have been coming the other way. And it would have been the same, I think it would have been the same scenario of hardly anyone's living there. Fucking nobody's in the country. He's wandering along. Admittedly, he's meant to be at work. But it would have been the same thing of you going out your house and going for a pointless wander in the
to frolic in the fields.
Whatever, cross paths with anyone. Oh, hello. It's the same, just very, very, very bad coincidence, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's never a coincidence that you cut someone's legs off.
Well, I know.
The encounter was coincidence.
The encounter, he could have been walking along in the countryside having taken the afternoon off and come across
because this wasn't the first time that he'd done this. He had given them halfpennies in the past.
Well, why didn't you say? Why wasn't
I didn't
that
have
in the
that
story?
Oh right, no. He'd given them halfpennies for sweets before. He was doing it to all the kids.
Well, why didn't you say?
I didn't know that. I have no record of that.
So this was. I mean, the only thing we don't have prior for is violence, and it's not an unpleasant act to chuck a halfpenny to local kids if you're. I mean, he was a reasonably well-off guy. He wore a tall hat and a
Yeah, he was an educated man working in solicitors.
Yeah, he had halfpennies that he could...
Halfpennies to spare.
Yeah, exactly.
He had halfpennies for days.
Yeah.
So, something snapped. Because he'd originally lived in Guildford, which isn't that particularly far away.
No.
And then he moved to the Alton. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should look in the records of Alton at the time, and Guildford, and see if there were any other
frenzied
child attacks,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go.
To the records office! With all due haste.
So I think he went to that field with those kids with intent, and he waited until one of them was isolated.
We'll never know.
No.
Right. But anyway, what happened next?
Well, Christmas Eve,
yeah,
in the public execution, Baker was hanged outside Winchester Prison.
Wow.
5,000 people attended the execution.
Really? And it kind of caught the nations.
Yeah. I mean, it had got the story was nationwide,
right? Yeah.
Almost straight away because of the brutality of it.
Yes,
and like you say, this is before Jack the Ripper.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, some 20 years before. This was the last public execution at Winchester Prison. However, just before his execution, Baker wrote to the family, the Adams family, apologising for what he had done.
Oh, okay.
And
this was before the execution.
Yes.
One hopes.
Yeah. A letter didn't arrive 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
In different handwriting.
You'll be delighted to know that a year later...
Yep.
Oh, no.
Baker's effigy was on display in the Chamber of Horrors at Adams, who saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's ridiculous, isn't it? The most hideous crime ever. Yeah, let's sell some more tickets. In you come.
It's the news. This bloke was in the news.
Yeah.
Well, he apologised for doing it. He did it.
Oh, that's all right then.
So there is a headstone to Fanny Adams in the cemetery at Alton, and it reads this: sacred to the memory of Fanny Adams, aged 8 years and 4 months, cruelly murdered on Saturday, August 24th, 1867. Fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both body and soul in hell. Which is a verse from Matthew, apparently.
Oh, okay.
But what you wanted to know, and what you continue to be waiting to hear about, is why Sweet F.A. is in common modern parlance.
Yes.
So 2 years after...
Is there a poem?
No, sadly not. The story is this. Now, remember I told you that parts of her body were never found?
Yeah.
So 2 years after the crime, the British Navy introduced new mutton rations.
Right.
And the British seamen were so unimpressed by this change of ration that it became a joke to say this must be the missing parts of Fanny Adams.
Right.
Meaning it's
rubbish.
It's rubbish. It's leftovers. It's worthless. It's
nothing.
not proper.
As we suggested, it's nothing.
So that then slowly slides into the meaning of
so it came
worthless.
to mean the ration is meaningless, then it became broader, anything that's meaningless. So this is Sweet F.A., Sweet Fanny Adams, means something that is worthless.
Yes,
this is worth this is worth Sweet F.A. In some parts in the Navy, they still call mess tins fannies because the tins that the mutton came in, they would double as a mess tin.
Yep.
So it would be Fanny Adams, and then that would be a fanny. But so Sweet Fanny Adams is now means worthless because of the worthless ration. That is whence it came.
Wow.
Is it fun, isn't it? I can tell you that there are two albums, one called Sweet Fanny Adams and one called Sweet F.A. Sweet Fanny Adams is an album by The Sweet. And Sweet F.A. is an album by Love and Rockets.
Love and Rockets.
That's a comic.
It is a comic, yes. But it's also a 90s English alternative rock band.
Is it?
Yeah.
Sweet. There you go.
I used to know a guy who was in The Sweet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
The original?
No, not the original. I used to tour with them. Later lineups with Brian Conley. Brian Conley's The Sweet.
Yes.
So they would play with them. Yeah. Good blokes. Just so you know.
That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've talked about on this episode, then just Google it or something. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on our website. That's www.truecrimediary.co.uk. Please remember to leave a review on your podcast provider if you can, or you can email us. That's stuff@truecrimediary.co.uk. My thanks to Jed and Rue and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again on the next date in our True Crime Diary.